This is Mac OS Ken.
A think piece on a think piece or something. iPhone 16e may have a Bluetooth audio issue and calls for the UK's spy guys to be more open. It is Friday, the 14th of March, 2025. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Incogni. Take your personal data back and get 60% off an annual plan with code MacOSKen at incogni.com/MacOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. I think my lawsuit joke is probably strengthened to prediction level. I had said yesterday that Apple going through and reminding people throughout its website that more advanced Siri features are going to be late was the Cupertino company trying to avoid lawsuits over features announced and anticipated, though so far undelivered. I also joked that there were likely teams of lawyers scattered about trying to craft lawsuits against Apple over this issue because, sure, why not call it an issue? After Thursday's spate of stories, I think the joke was more of a prediction. Something is rotten in the state of Cupertino. That is the headline of a long piece from Daring Fireball's John Gruber. He sounds hurt, both by Apple and by his own short-sightedness. His feeling is that Apple lied about the more advanced features that were supposed to be coming for Siri. Having seen no live demo, let alone a hands-on demo, he now deems announced features like personal context, on-screen awareness, and in-app actions for Siri, these he deems vaporware. Quoting his post, what Apple showed regarding the upcoming personalized Siri at WWDC was not a demo, it was a concept video. Concept videos are bullshit and a sign of a company in disarray, if not crisis. He seems hurt. CNBC actually did a short segment based on Gruber's attempted evisceration. The Financial Channel posted the video segment under the headline, Apple's AI adoption stumbles, drag on stock. Yeah, okay, maybe. The CNBC piece wasn't about Gruber, of course, nor whether Apple had lied, but about how far behind Apple is perceived to be in the AI game. Thing is, though, people in the US don't care about AI for smartphones, while less than half the people in China do. Anyway, that's what CNBC said in its bit about how far behind Apple is in AI. The Financial Channel cited a 2024 Canalys survey that said in China, 43% of respondents are enthusiastic about AI on smartphones, while here in the States, it's 15%. So can Apple's AI adoption stumbles have dragged Apple shares down? Well, maybe talking about it did. TF International analyst Ming-Chi Kuo kind of pulled an I told you Kuo. Apple Insider had young MC hitting the hell side on Thursday. According to that piece, Kuo claims that Apple had already factored in the underwhelming performance of Apple Intelligence when the company shared conservative iPhone sales forecasts with suppliers in early 2025. Apple was presumably aware of the negative impact that Siri delay would have on sales figures. The same Apple Insider piece says signs of this were visible earlier this week when Morgan Stanley analyst Eric Woodring cut his price target on Apple shares. Apple Insider says he did that citing concerns regarding the current status of Siri and its postponed Apple Intelligence overhaul, which is true, though not complete. Woodring also cited the $2 billion in product costs he expects Trump tariffs to cost the Cupertino company. And honestly, you would think Apple Insider would know that since they were the ones that wrote the story earlier this week. Woodring didn't downgrade Apple shares, by the way, and the AI news wasn't the only reason he cut his Apple target, which is still more than $40 ahead of Apple's current value. Worth noting as well, while Apple shares were lower on Thursday, they were far from alone. The world was treated to another day of tariff turmoil and inflation fears, which were reflected on Wall Street. The Dow dropped 1.3%, the Nasdaq was down about 2%, Apple was down between 3.3 and 3.4%, not good, but Starbucks was down a little over 2.5%, while Meta was down over 4.5%. Apple's AI adoption stumbles drag on stock? Yeah, maybe. But Wall Street is towing a few anchors that are also offering drag. So what do you want to talk about? The business of Apple? The business of Apple's going to be fine. Gruber said as much in his post. Want to talk about Apple's credibility? That's a tougher conversation. They've lost all credibility with Gruber. That's obvious. And I don't want to be the guy who says, I could have told you they couldn't be trusted, but, well, this is going to be weird, but stick with me. I didn't go half as nuts over the Your Friends and Neighbors trailer as I wanted to on Thursday's macOS Ken. But if we go back to the original Apple TV Plus announcement, Apple's proclamation that great stories can change the world, it was decent marketing, but not everything they put on the streaming service has had that focus. They said one thing, followed through on part of it, and then just made TV the rest of the time. The cynical part of me says Apple seems not to be about making the world better at this point, making lives better. Rather, they seem to be about making money, to the exclusion of all else. And maybe that's what they always were. But they used to do it by offering life-changing technology and mind-blowing solutions. Now they're selling us subscriptions 8 ways to Sunday. You used to be able to finance the purchase of an iPhone, spread out payments over a couple of years. May have been 3, I can't remember. The reason I can't remember is because I can't do that because that offer now is only for people using one of 4 carriers. I assume that's because Apple gets a kickback from those carriers. Not only do I not get the option of paying over time, I actually have to pay more. Starting price for an iPhone 16 on one of the carriers I mentioned is $799. If you're buying with no carrier contract, it's $829. That's not consumer friendly, but here's the thing. Most consumers won't care. Most people have a short attention span. Most people are used to being misled or lied to by companies, by politicians, by advertising. Ads lie, and people accept both. I'd say as long as iPhones don't explode, what Apple does will go unnoticed by the general consumer, but then I'm reminded of the fiery hellscape that was the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 disaster Mageddon Gate, literally catching fire in people's pants, literally grounding planes. And now Samsung's up to the Galaxy 20-something. As far as building advanced AI features, I can't do that. Can you? That Apple would have trouble doing it speaks to at least a couple of things, it seems to me. First, the company is methodical. If they were part of the move fast and break things crowd, they could, I feel certain, have some very whiz-bang AI features for iPhone. And second, what they say they are trying to do is difficult. If it were easy, it would already be everywhere. I guess the question for individuals, was Apple sincere in its stated belief that advanced AI features were coming? If you decide they were sincere, is it okay that they missed the mark? If you decide they weren't sincere, do you care? Or does everything else the company offers, everything else the ecosystem offers, does it outweigh that? I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this. info@macosken.com is the email address. info@macosken.com. You can also leave me a voicemail, 716-780-4080. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Incogni, helping you take back your personal data. Likely because of the security show I do, I am huge into privacy these days. I think back on the years I spent posting where I was at any given time and giving out personal information without thinking about it, and I cringe. That stuff never goes away. I've had Incogni working to get that info back for me, and it has been an eye-opener. They found a data broker that had addresses for me going back over 30 years. It's info that gets sold to advertisers and insurance companies and other data brokers, any of which can be used by them to get the upper hand in business dealings at best, or just end up with my information being stolen at worst. Since I started with Incogni, they've gotten over 250 data brokers to remove my data, while 57 have said that they will never collect data on me again. Even if they do, though, Incogni will be ready with more data removal requests. It's what they do. And they can do that for you. Make an account, answer a few questions, and let them start taking your data back. I truly appreciate what they do. Take control of your data privacy today with Incogni. Get 60% off an annual plan with code MacOSken at incogni.com/MacOSken. That's a great savings, and it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. INCOGNI. Get 60% off an annual plan with code MacOSken at incogni.com/MacOSken. Okay, want to talk about a real problem Apple's having? I'm not saying the AI thing isn't real, but you want to talk about a real problem? Mac Rumors says iPhone 16e has a Bluetooth audio issue. According to the piece, complaints on the Hell site, Reddit, and Apple's own support community have audio streaming from Apple's latest phone to a Bluetooth speaker periodically stuttering or cutting out. It's unclear how widespread the issue is. It's also unclear what's causing it, though some say the problem kicks in when the iPhone 16e is connected to multiple Bluetooth accessories at once. So far, Apple doesn't seem to have acknowledged this issue. Parties on both sides of the pond are calling for today's secret Apple hearing in the UK to not be secret. We talked about this yesterday. It's the thing where the UK government reportedly asked Apple for a backdoor into all encrypted data stored in iCloud, not just data stored by and for people in the UK. Apple didn't wanna, so it pulled advanced data protection from the UK, though the UK still felt entitled, which forced Apple to bring the case before the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, or IPT. At least that's the rumor. Neither Apple nor the UK government has said anything publicly about any of it. Apple because to do so would be illegal, and the UK government because it does not want to. Objecting in England, a piece from TechCrunch says the rights groups Big Brother Watch, Index on Censorship, and the Open Rights Group have written to the president of the IPT calling for the iCloud case to be heard in public. According to the joint letter, the case implicates the privacy rights of millions of British citizens who use Apple's technology, as well as Apple's international users. There is significant public interest in knowing when and on what basis the UK government believes that it can compel a private company to undermine the privacy and security of its customers. Back here in the States, a piece from Apple Insider says lawmakers from both sides of the aisle want the UK to come clean about the initial order. Democrats and Republicans are calling on the UK to remove the cloak of secrecy surrounding the order and to make dealings around the issue public. Quoting part of that letter, Given the significant technical complexity of this issue, as well as the important national security harms that will result from weakening cybersecurity defenses, it is imperative that the UK's technical demands of Apple and of any other US companies be subjected to robust public analysis and debate by cybersecurity experts. A call for transparency from today's Washington, D.C. feels rich. But you know what? Great. Hey, maybe Tim Cook called DJ Chucky 3, by which I mean His Majesty the King of England, for a bit of help on this issue. If they keep this secret, how will we know when this story is done? I know. What story? The Apple original F1 could be one of this summer's biggest movies, and there is a trailer out for it. Apple TV Plus issued a press release Thursday teasing the flick. According to that, Brad Pitt plays a guy whose promising Formula One career was cut short. 30 years later, a former teammate and owner of a struggling team brings him back to the track for one last shot at saving the team and being the best in the world. Javier Bardem plays the team owner. Other actors play other characters. F1 races into theaters in late June. The trailer is up now on YouTube. And finally today, there's a new crime drama out on Apple TV+. The Brian Tyree Henry Wagner Moura series Dope Thief has begun its run. Based on a book of the same name, Apple says the show follows longtime Philly friends and delinquents who pose as DEA agents to rob an unknown house in the countryside, only to have their small-time grift become a life-and-death enterprise as they unwittingly reveal and unravel the biggest hidden narcotics corridor on the eastern seaboard. Other stars of note include Ving Rhames, Marin Ireland, and Kate Mulgrew. The first 2 episodes of Dope Thief are up now on Apple TV+. This week on the checklist, brought to you by Secure Mac, we're catching up on the Lee Enterprises issue. Roughly 70 U.S. newspapers were under cyber attack. We'll see how they're doing now. Plus, Consumer Reports has looked into voice cloning scams, and they've got good news. 4 people running the scams. For the rest of us, it's not pretty. That's all on checklist number 415. Find it today at securemac.com/checklist or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Incogni. Get 60% off an annual plan with code macOSKen at incogni.com/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.